How are we, guys? So we're here. We're back again. Football is back after 5 long old days since that West Ham game. But look, we're back at it against Steve Brucey's boys, Newcastle United at home. Mate, Joe Wainman, what are you thinking going into this one then? Initial kind of thoughts.
I'm just glad that we're done talking about West Ham now. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's been a mad few days, hasn't it? So I'm glad we're done with that, and we can look ahead to Newcastle at home. Bruce versus Bielsa, as it were. A lot of people mentioning Chelsea in the chat as well. Just want to get that in there.
It's always good to start with this. It's always good to start with this. Chelsea's title challenge has fallen apart in the space of a week. They thought they were winning the league after beating us. Timo Werner is just basically the second coming of Fernando Torres and Shevchenko. It's just glorious times, mate. It's just glorious times.
It's brilliant, isn't it? Just shows you all that running, them extra yards they put in against Leeds United, all that guff they were chatting. They've now lost 2 on the bounce and are surely in a relegation dogfight now.
Certainly are, along with Arsenal. Yeah. It's going to be tight at that bottom end of the table. But, I mean, there's obviously a full midweek's worth of games, isn't it? A lot of games, to be fair, around the bottom. Obviously, we've got Fulham, Brighton as well. Some really interesting games, that's going to really kind of shape up the table. But, I mean, in terms of this one, mate, obviously Newcastle 3 points above us at the minute.
Yeah.
Still say, though, obviously Darren was saying yesterday, I don't think they're a better team than us. I still think obviously they're a bit more probably streetwise so far this season, would you say? They've not really got battered at any point. They've always managed to keep themselves in games, haven't they, really?
Yeah, definitely. Like you say, I mean, performance-wise, I've been listening and watching a few bits from Newcastle fans and hearing them speak. It's points on the board, but I mean, the football's absolutely shocking. Bruce isn't one for tactical masterclasses. I think we all know that. But ultimately, I mean, from a Newcastle fan perspective, I suppose I can't really grumble because, like you say, they're looking okay in terms of Premier League survival, which I guess when you've got someone like Bruce in charge and you've got an owner like Mike Ashley, it's the least you can hope for. I mean, they've had some great managers. It was Rafa not too long ago. Let's not forget. But yeah, I mean, look, they've been doing pretty decent of late. It's actually the first time that Steve Bruce could possibly win 3 on the bounce. Obviously, winning the last 2, I think Palace and West Brom. So it's actually the first time they could possibly win 3 on the bounce. We do need to be wary of them because they have been picking up results of late. They've won 3 of the last 5. Let's not forget, we've won 1 in 6. So they're in arguably, better form than us. And yes, they are pretty shocking to watch. Yes, we are a better side, but ultimately, like you said yourself, they've got 3 points more than us, Oscar?
Yeah, 3 points more than us and a slightly better goal difference as well. They've actually -2, so they don't score a ton, but they don't concede many either. But just looking at the stats, mate, I mean, obviously, Newcastle fans aren't happy with the style. I mean, they've took the second fewest shots in the whole league. Only Sheffield United have took less.
Oh, wow.
Possession-wise, again, the average 42.6%, which I think only 2 teams. Yeah, again, Sheffield United and West Ham, the only 2 teams that have averaged less. So it's not thrilling to watch. But to be fair, what I would say about Newcastle is their recruitment's been pretty sound. The last kind of since the summer, obviously Callum Wilson's come in, he's smashed in 7 goals early doors. Considering he's not actually played every game as well, that's pretty impressive. So obviously he's one to look out for. I think he's obviously we struggled on Friday, but that was with Haller at centre forward, and Haller had an absolute nightmare. I think we've all kind of said that. Yeah. Wilson in that up top is going to give us that bit more of a testing transition, I would have said. But it is almost a carbon copy, really, of that West Ham game. But I do think Newcastle across the pitch have got less quality. I don't think there's a Ben Rama in that team, or a Bowen, or necessarily a Ogbonna, a Creswell. I do think there's probably, obviously, Declan Rice as well. I think they're probably a notch down off that.
Definitely.
But still, it's good that there's experience in that team. I think that's the big thing. Obviously, I think we've got a decent record against Steve Bruce as well. Last time we played them at home was obviously Sheffield Wednesday. When we won that game, I think we all thought that was kind of it. We were going up first time basking. But yeah, no, it's an interesting little battle. I think it's two polar opposites in terms of style, isn't it? We're going to have about 65, 70% of the ball tomorrow. I'm not going to give a prediction, but that is something that's definite. We're probably going to have twice as many shots. We're going to outshoot them, probably outdo everything against them. But can we be? I think it's one of those games, mate, where it's all about what we do in both boxes. I think in terms of control, the midfield, I think we'll be okay. If I'm being honest, I think obviously John Joe Shelby's a decent player, but I still think Phillips and Click, I'd back him. I would back him on the day to have the better game, but still an interesting battle. But I think it's in both boxes. Can we be more decisive in that final third than we have been last couple of games? I think West Ham, particularly, we were struggling to get things going down that left-hand side in particular. And obviously, we're going to go on to that in terms of the team. And obviously, defensively, the set pieces thing, we can't ignore it. Newcastle, big team, but don't actually have that great a record on set pieces. So that's there's a bit of hope there. I do think I wouldn't like to say easier. I don't like to use the word easier, but I've got a better feeling going into this than I did kind of half an hour into that West Ham game. To be honest, that West Ham game, I didn't like the way it was going after they made it 1-1. To be honest.
Yeah, no, I agree completely, mate. And like's been said in the chat, it's a must win for me. It's a very, very big game in the context, because obviously the weekend we play them, and then we've got some lower end teams, the likes of Burnley and West Brom, and then it puts a whole different complexion on them games if we were to lose tomorrow, and if we were to lose against Man United, and the rhetoric and the media, it's all looking totally different for Leeds United. But I'm just hopeful of a win. We need to get points on the ball, and like you said, I think we can get a win. I mean, Newcastle haven't lost at Ellen Road since 1999. It's worth. I know we won't have played as much during that time, but obviously the times that they did spend in the Championship when we were there, they did win games at Ellen Road. So no loss at Ellen Road for Newcastle since '99. But I suppose that sort of stuff's irrelevant because we hadn't won at Everton for such a long time previously. And
record's always there to be broken, of course.
Of course.
I think the only thing I'd say is there's a lot of that Newcastle. I think the last time we played Newcastle was the Monk season, I think, when Bob Green made that howler. Obviously, Dwight Gale taps it in. But there's actually still a lot of Newcastle players still there, Obviously, John Joe Shelby, Dwight Gale, Matt Mitchell, not really. I think that's part of the frustration at Newcastle. Not really overhauled the squad. There are a lot of players there who really are probably higher end Championship players rather than Premier League players. But they've not really overhauled the squad. Obviously, that's down to Mike Ashley, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ultimately. But yeah, no, look, mate.
I think you made a good point about Wilson in the transitions. I think it's a huge shot in the arm for Leeds United that St. Maximin isn't playing, because I would have been worried even more so that he is. Who's going to play on that? Maybe you'll have Murphy again, like you mentioned, Championship players for me. So I think we'll be all right. Am I right in saying I think Lascelles is out as well? I think Ryan Fraser's fit though, and he's someone to be wary of.
No, definitely. Obviously Ryan Fraser. 18 months ago, he was getting linked with Arsenal. 18 months ago when he was at Bournemouth. Obviously, he caused that big hoo-ha at Bournemouth, but he seems to have started quite well, to be fair, at Newcastle. But again, obviously, bit stop-start, a bit like Callum Wilson, a bit stop-start. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, Newcastle come into this off the back of beating West Brom, but it wasn't convincing, mate. I didn't bother watching the full game, to be honest, because, to be honest, Newcastle, the thought of that was just like, I'd rather watch a Championship game, to be honest. But no, it didn't look convincing, to be fair. Looking at our match of the day, Newcastle were pretty clinical on the day. Obviously, Dwight Gale scores from a cross. How he can let Dwight Gale win a header in the box when he's like 5 foot.
Well, don't say that, because I'm sure Leeds United would have a good go at it.
That's a slight. I think they're very. I think the thing is with Newcastle, I think outside of the two strikers. I don't think there's a lot of goal threat in that team. That's one thing I'm positive about. I think obviously Almiron's playing okay.
Joe Linton as a goal threat?
I mean, it depends if he plays, I mean, I will say about Joe Linton is in a front two, when he's got someone running off him like Callum Wilson or Dwight Gale, I think he's all right, I think obviously he's not a goal threat on his own. I mean, what was it, 3 in 48 or something like that? I mean, I don't want to go too much into that because you know what Leeds United are like.
Yeah, definitely.
QPR last season and won for 20 games and then beat us with a handball. I'm never ever going to mention a stat like that again. But no, I think they've got decent players in that team, and obviously they're quite well drilled. They're a difficult team to batter, to be honest, because they always keep themselves in games. I think one thing I will mention is Carl Darlow this season. For me, I'll genuinely go as far to say, out of all goalkeepers so far this season, along with Marriot, he's probably impressed me the most. Along with Marriot, I think he's been absolutely outstanding. I think obviously your stats aren't we, lads. We're happy that I'm quoting this, but their expected goals against, I think, is almost double what they've actually conceded. So that shows you kind of what Carl Darlow's rescued them points wise. I think it's actually worse than Sheffield United. I might be wrong on that in terms of goals against. So it kind of sums it up in that sense. So yeah, I think he's been absolutely massive. I remember a game earlier on in the season. I think they were playing Tottenham. Somehow got to draw out that game, but it was down to Carl Darlow. I think VAR saved it, but Carl Darlow was just unreal. I mean, Kane, Son couldn't find a way past him, and he's really done well for him this season. So obviously he's probably been their star man in terms of what I've read and kind of seen, but obviously not seen enough of Newcastle to have that full kind of picture. But look, it's a game that really you want to be winning. If I'm being honest, you want to be winning this kind of game. I think Newcastle, squad-wise, probably at a similar level to us. But I'd like to think we've got that better cohesion. We've got the better manager. Let's be honest, we've got the better manager. It's a game I think we should be winning. Certainly not losing. That's the thing. It's a kind of thing where you look at and say, if we lose this game, and obviously the teams around us, if they pick up points, all of a sudden. I'm not saying that if we lose that game, we're in a relegation fight. I'm just saying that confidence-wise, I think it would give it a bit of a battering if we lost that game tomorrow. I think obviously West Ham, you can kind of let go because West Ham are a good team. They're beating a lot of good teams this season. But yeah, that Newcastle is a game I'd expect us to win, to be honest. We should be aiming to win.
Like Newcastle, you'd arguably say it's the sort of team that we're going to be in and around come the end of the season, battling from, say, I don't know, 15th up to mid-table, that sort of vibe. It's a team that these are the games that we need to be winning. We can put in the great performances against Liverpool, City, etc. But if we don't win these games, it'll all count for nothing, and these are the sort of teams that we need to be beating. What do you make to the fact that obviously Newcastle have only lost once on the road? We've only won one at home all season, which has been quite a surprise for me. Obviously, that was against Fulham, and that seems an age ago now. Do you have any concerns about our home form at all? Is there any reasons why we're not picking up wins? And obviously Newcastle, the same in a way that, have only lost once on the road, doing better away from home than they are at home.
I think what I'd say, mate, is that I think everything pretty much since Fulham and City was our first two home games, wasn't it, if I'm right in saying?
Yeah.
I think every single game we've played since, the opposition has sat in. Even Wolves, Leicester, I'd say, maybe not to the same extent, say, West Ham did, but they both kind of stayed deep and very much played on the counter and tried to kill us in transition, which, to be fair, every team has so far, other than Arsenal. I think that Arsenal game, even then, we struggled to break them down. And that's kind of the approach teams are taking against us. I think when teams go toe-to-toe against us, like Everton, like Villa, I think we swat those teams aside, to be honest. I think on our day, when we're on our form, we swat those teams aside. We've got so much technical quality, creativity in the team, Bamford's in form, a lot of space to attack in, Rafinha, Aiden, etc., etc. All these players that can cause so much trouble in open space. But the thing is, I just think we're going to have more and more of this in terms of teams sitting in until we find a way to break it down. Because if you're a manager going to Ellen Road and you look at the Fulham game, the City game, and you're not a top team, you're looking at it and thinking, there's no way you're going to try and go toe to toe against Leeds, because when you do that, Leeds score goals. There's no question about it. I just think, obviously, there's a small thing for me about Pablo, I'd say, in terms of that creativity in the middle of the pitch. Do we have that at the minute? I love clicking Rodrigo, but when we're chasing a game, can we maybe get Pablo in there and a bit more pace off the centre, off the centre back, in terms of Rodrigo for the last 20 minutes up against the two centre backs and try and break them down that way? We haven't actually tried that, yet. We haven't actually seen Rodrigo go into the centre forward spot, as far as I can remember. Anyway, not since
you're right.
Full game when obviously that was like his debut, wasn't it? Yeah, I don't know why I mentioned that whole game, but it's just a constant theme, isn't it? I think all the teams are basically going with the same tactic: sit in, have outlets, your Bowens, your Aubameyangs, etc., your Vardys, your Barneses, your Jimenezes, all these kind of really good players, by the way. This is the difference between this and the Championship. Teams like Wigan turned up to Elland Road, didn't have that goal threat going the other way. They couldn't just sit in and just say, we'll nick a goal, because they didn't have the qualities to do that. Teams at this level need one chance and they score, and that's the thing.
Bit of a dodgy choice to choose Wigan.
Yeah, why did I choose Wigan then? Why didn't I choose Wigan?
The one team that did beat
Stoke. I'll pick Stoke. Why did I choose Wigan then? That was harsh. That we lost both games against them as well, didn't we? That choice. That was the first team that came into the head. I thought Wigan. But all right, Stoke then. Stoke. Someone like that. Bolton. Teams like that. They can't just do that because they don't have the clinical edge in front of goal. Teams that Leicester City beat us 4-1, and I think they had about 9 shots on goal. I think I might be wrong on that. It was something insane like that, because you got people like Vardy. I think obviously Newcastle. You got Wilson there, Almiron. Decent little goal threat. Maybe not to the same extent as a Leicester, but still players you can rely on to kind of like hurt the team in transition. So we've just got to find a way to really suffocate these kind of teams for me. I think obviously the left-hand side of the pitch, we're not really a threat from at the minute, if I'm being honest. I love Jack Harrison, and I don't necessarily think it's Jack Harrison's fault at the minute. I just think we need to just find a way to get a better partner, more suited to him playing behind him. Because obviously, I said before, Alioski and Harrison, we tried together 2 years ago and it didn't work, and that was in the Championship. There's no real reason why it'd work in the Premier League. I'm not saying they're bad players, I just don't think they suit each other's style. They're both high energy, but there's no real kind of craft in that kind of sense, in terms of, just a really good combination and understanding on that hand side. I think the right-hand side's okay. Dallas or Shackleton, Rafinha, Rafinha cuts in on his left foot. Dallas, Shackleton go on the overlap, and we can just get crosses into the box and create some chances. But I think obviously another thing what we've tried to do a lot this season is try and hurt teams with through balls. I think obviously I'm thinking like Click through ball into Bamford against Fulham. That one into Click against Liverpool. We're not really able to do that against teams that don't give us the space, because when you're doing that, you need Bamford's pace. But we all know Bamford's not the quickest. Maybe that's where, when we're chasing a game, you put Rodrigo in. What I want to see, mate, is just try something different. I don't want to see the same subs. That's my only frustration from the last 4 games.
So Oscar, obviously for me, based on everything you're saying there, and obviously Newcastle have been lining up with a 4-4-2, but previously been playing with a back 5. And I was listening to our friends earlier on at All Stats, aren't we? And they were making the point of saying it'll be interesting to see how Bruce sets them up, because when they've come up against teams that'll have a go, that he maybe thinks they'll struggle against, he goes with the back 5, and teams that he feels he can get a result against, he'll go with the 4-4-2. So it'll be interesting to see if he resorts to that back 5. I expect him to do so, because like you've just mentioned there, I think it will be difficult for us to break Newcastle down. I do think they'll go with 5 at the back. Obviously, they play 2 up top as well, which means that it's possible that we might see that 3-3-1-3. Is that something you expect to see tomorrow night?
Yeah, I do, to be honest, and it's an interesting one. I think obviously Aylan and Cooper are likely to be in that back 3, but it's a case of who comes in. I mean, does KP drop into it? In terms of in the middle of it. I think the thing I would say about KP dropping into there, maybe why I would probably prefer that over Stewart, to be honest. I know Stewart gives you that aerial height, but for me, Phillips, one thing I've noticed, West Ham did brilliantly, and Chelsea, to be fair. They had Mason Mount, Side Benrahma sitting on Phillips and just stopping Phillips getting on the ball in the dangerous areas. If you're playing centre back a little bit deeper, it makes it harder for teams to do that. We can kind of start attacking deeper areas. But I don't know, mate. What I will say is that my only frustration with the last couple of home games is we've tried the same kind of substitutions, and it's just not worked for us. I think obviously Paveda, Pablo are probably prepared to see coming on the pitch rather than Roberts and Costa, if I'm being honest. I think we've all kind of said that. And I do expect that, to be honest. I'd be amazed if, after the way they played the other night, I wouldn't be surprised if one of them's out of the 18, to be honest. I genuinely wouldn't be that massively surprised. Possibly even both, because, I think a couple of people said that Bielsa was visibly really annoyed with Costa after 10 minutes, to be fair. I'm not sure what for, but again, it might just be a Costa tirade kind of thing. I think Costa's getting a lot of stick at the minute, but there's definitely obviously something there. It's we just got it's just that left hand side for me, mate. Just find that balance again. Start the season we had Dallas and Harrison there, and I thought it worked really well. It was solid defensively, really solid defensively. And not much happened on that side, but obviously we can't put Dallas there because we're trying to play Dallas right back.
So
it's just a balance thing. It's just getting that.
Let's have a chat about what we expect, because I think Jamie Shackleton might come in. I think Jamie Shackleton might come in right wing back, as it were. I think Pascal might come in alongside Ayling and Cooper, and then Dallas, on the left hand side. What it means is obviously then someone has to drop out from the midfield. So who comes out for you? Because for me, Click has had a great season, but he has looked a bit off the boil in the last two games. So would you go with Rodrigo or would you go with Click? Because one of them ultimately would have to come out of the side if we did bring Pascal in and have KP in the pivot, and then obviously just ahead Click with probably Harrison, Rafinha, and Bamford. So what do you think that he'll go with that? Will it be Click or Rodrigo if he does indeed bring Pascal in?
It's an interesting one. I think, obviously, to be fair, the predicted lineups are actually showing Rodrigo being dropped out of the team. We're expecting us to go to a back, Struick to come in, and possibly Dallas, Alioski, or Shackleton, in terms of what two out of those three in the fullback areas. But what I would say is, I would keep clicking. I know I'm always going to say that, but I think when you are struggling, like we are a little bit at the minute in terms of keeping the ball, I think you've got to have your best passers on the pitch. You've got one Phillips and Click there. Your two best passers at the base of midfield. When we're controlling possession, we're keeping it in that middle third when we're dominating the game in that area. We're moving Shelby, Hayden, these players around. We're not allowing them to get on the ball. We're pressing them high. I think Phillips and Click are best pressers of the ball as well. I'd really want to see them two in the centre, because really, they do the work. It's like having three central midfielders because there's so much energy, there's so much work rate, there's so much craft, and I think I would still keep that the same. And what I would say about Click and Rodrigo is that I just didn't fought against West Ham as well. Everyone was so close together. Everyone was playing like in the same areas. You saw Rafinha was dropping behind Phillips at times, if you know what I mean. Obviously, Harrison was kind of nowhere to be seen for the whole game. Costa was nowhere to be seen. So there were. When Click and Rodrigo were getting on the ball, there was no options. That's the one thing. I'm not saying they were great by any stretch of the imagination, but it's all well and good having great passes of the ball, but there's no options to play. Say Rafinha. If he's not getting down the line, we can't carve a team open that way.
How many times did we resort to hitting it long because of that?
That's the thing. It got to a point where there's no passes on. The only option is Paddy Bamford with his head. And unfortunately, Balbuena and Ogbonna, just like Fernandez and Kieran Clark, they're possible two centre-backs and maybe even three centre-backs, which gives even less reason to try something like that. And it's not us that, mate. That's not what we try and do. But I think, what I would say about Friday is it's as much as we were poor, I've got to give credit to West Ham, as well. I've got to give credit to West Ham because I think that is just as big a part. I don't think, on a normal day, say if we were playing West Brom on Friday, I don't think they'd have been able to do tactically what West Ham did. I don't think they'd be able to have Benrahma there, just drifting into space. And that's what I will say. Newcastle, without Saint-Maximin, don't have that kind of player who can just carry the ball, take our players out of the game.
Is it Jacob Murphy that plays for them, right?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at their team, they're expecting Almiron and Richie or Jacob Murphy. So Almiron off the right, Richie or Murphy off the left. So it's not got the same wow factor as Saint-Maximin, has it? It's not got the same fear factor, in terms of, in that sense.
And like you say, it's someone that our fullbacks can deal with. That's what I'm saying. It's like you said. They're a pretty bang average team, and I mean that with the best,
They're average at everything. There's nothing really that Newcastle excel at. They've got a really good goalkeeper, but I think defensively they're just average. Going forward, you get a couple of goals off Wilson. There's nothing really that stands out from that team. That's what I would say. I think there's just that's the thing. That Newcastle are almost certain to finish anywhere between 12th and 15th or 16th. The odds on that are just ridiculous because it's almost certain to happen. It's a bit like Palace and teams like that. Teams that you always see in those kind of areas of the table, not quite good enough for top half, but too good to go down kind of thing. And I do think Newcastle, to be fair, because the league's not great this season. In terms of the bottom part of the table, you've got Fulham there, who have, let's be honest, for the first 3/4 of the season so far have been a bit of a joke, to be honest, haven't they, Fulham? They couldn't defend to save their lives. All of a sudden, they've somehow been able to put a run of results together. I don't think that means Fulham are a good team. I just think that's a reflection of the rest of the league. I think the league's a little bit weaker this season. I don't think the top. But Chelsea were supposedly title challengers, and they've just lost the last 2 games. I just think it's so. The games are so tight at the minute. There's not a lot to choose from them, and they could go either way. Even that West Ham game, when we went 1 up. If we'd have really settled down, we could have battered West Ham. We just kind of let them into it. We let Benrahma get on the ball, and they responded quite well to it. But it's just so tight in the Premier League. It's just so it's not like the Championship. We had those games against Stoke and Bristol City, and where we just battered teams for 90 minutes. That's not going to happen this season. I think every team can have moments in games, and we just got to get. That's the one thing I'd say is that. When we have bad moments in games, we tend to concede. West Ham, we had that awful 20 minutes before they scored, where Melié's made the save off Haller on an overhead kick, the one off the set piece, and we just didn't heed the warning. We just couldn't get out, and it just felt the goal. When the goal happened, mate, it was almost like I wasn't even angry because it just was so obvious that it was going to come at some point in the game, and that's the thing. We just got to manage those situations a bit better. And we can't forget, 2 games ago, we absolutely played Everton off the park, who beat Chelsea at the weekend. So we've not become a bad team overnight. I just think it's just a slight issue. I think, Robin Cox come out, for me, our best centre-back. And then obviously, it's not just the fact Robin Cox come out, it's the fact we had to move our best right-back to centre-back, and it's 2 positions. It's almost 2 injuries at once, if you know what I mean, in that sense. It's two absent teams at once. And not that I'm saying Luke Aylin's bad at centre-back, but it's not the same, is it, really? It's not the same going forward. No. And that's the thing.
And we lose a lot, obviously, from Luke Ayling not being on that right-hand side.
Yeah.
It was crazy. There's a stat come out this evening, actually, that Luke Ayling's had the...
it's attacking stats are the most final third passes, I think.
So the most progressive passes in UEFA's top 5 leagues, and Luke Ayling's on 89. Ahead him and Manuel Locatelli. So it's him leading the lines ahead of Messi, ahead of De Bruyne, ahead of Trent Alexander-Arnold, ahead of Bruno Fernandes. This is what we're talking about here. So we're not only losing a centre-back, we're also losing Luke Ayling from his best possession as well. Best position, sorry. So it's a massive, massive loss. But, Newcastle are ravaged as well. I suppose you've got to look at them. They're missing some key players as well. I know Benjamin Thornton mentioned earlier just how many are out. Look, if you have a look, Lascelles, Shah, Manquillo, Saint-Maximin, Hayden, fatigue, because I know they played the other night and they've obviously got a game at the weekend. So, Bruce has said he's going to make changes. So it's a game that, as a Leeds United fan, that we've got to be winning, man. That's the facts, Oscar, because like's been mentioned previously, we've got we've got obviously them at the weekend, but I think my concern is if we were to lose to Newcastle, not get a positive result against Man United, we then play the likes of West Brom, Burnley, and then games have a totally different complexion then, because then they become relegation games. Do you see what I'm saying? And
yeah,
I can't deal with that.
That's the thing, and obviously it's not a good time to play those kind of games either. With Luke Ayling, progressive passes, that's what you need to break down these teams. Playing the passes into dangerous areas, the opposition a little bit, and that's just the thing you struggle with. You almost think when Ayling's got those kind of stats going forward, is it worth just keeping it right back and just kind of trying to make do at centre back, trying to put Struijk in there or someone else in there? It's not ideal. I think whatever we do, it's not ideal. But you almost think to yourself, when we're chasing the game, maybe you switch Ayling to right back in that lot. If we're behind in the game and think we're already behind, mate. And that's the only thing I'd say. I think the substitutions have been a little bit frustrating for me. But I do expect if we are in trouble tomorrow night,
we've got to see Pablo, haven't we?
I think we will. But if we don't, I think that can pretty much, it's pretty telling if Pablo doesn't, especially after the way Costa and Roberts have played. All the subs really, last couple of games have played. It's and that's the only thing that I can kind of say. But I just think in the Premier League, there's always going to be moments in the season where, we said it even before we went into the season. I think Benjamin Bloom, 6 months ago when we got 5 months ago, sorry, when we got promoted, when we were in the sunshine, and Benjamin Bloom was saying to us, when you go on a bad run of form, make sure you keep your heads. I think it's an exact, I think the wise old words from a very wise man, actually. And this is exactly it now, isn't it? We've had the glorious start to the season. The first 6 games, Villa away. I genuinely looked at that Villa game and thought, oh my words, as a newly promoted team ever put on as good a performance as that in terms of at the start of the season. It's so dominant in that one, the Man City game. And mate, I was getting carried. I'm not sure I'd go as far as what you were saying in terms of the top 4, but I did genuinely look at that and think, my words, we're gonna batter teams this season in that lot. And it's just that ever since then, every single team we've played, other than Chelsea, has just kind of thought, oh, okay, hang on a second, Leeds are pretty good here. Whoa, 5 at the back, let's sit back. And, it's almost like a boxing kind of match, isn't it? We're throwing all the punches, but we're not really landing anything, and that's what it's kind of been. Teams gone defensive and just got that sucker punch in that one, and we've just got to cope with that. It's the nature of how we play. There's probably going to be more of it this season. It's just the way we play. I wouldn't want to change that for 1 minute.
Definitely not.
I wouldn't want to go to those depths. I don't see a reason to do that because.
There might come a time in a few seasons where that happens, what I mean, when we get a new manager. But while we've got Bielsa in, man, enjoy it while it lasts. I'm not panicking. I'm not worried, Oscar. There is a lot worse teams than us in this division, and we'll continue. Look, we're going to go on these runs like you've mentioned before, but I look at this Newcastle game and it's really pivotal. It's one that we need to look at. Let's obviously we've had a chat about Newcastle. Let's have a look at some of the comments if people's got questions and stuff, just specifically on the game. Emmett Oliver's said, lads, are we all still behind Bielsa? Stupid question, I know, but there has been a few fickle fans about. It's naturally, I suppose, it comes with the territory. Every fan has them, but anyone, questioning Bielsa, who, let's not forget, has been nominated as for the FIFA, and he's made his way to the final 3 as well. So this is how good this man is. I mentioned as well, just on that Luke Ayling stat as well, that's down to Bielsa. People that question Bielsa made a song and dance about him getting nominated for this award. Just have a look at what he's done to Luke Ayling. Luke Ayling never thought he would. Listen, if you were to sit him down honestly, I don't think anyone could see the trajectory. Sorry, I need to put my teeth in. That he's gone on, and how well he is performing. I think it was Darren said yesterday he just can play at any level, but you'd have never thought that about him, and that's just props to Bielsa. So anyone who is questioning Bielsa are off the red, if you ask me. And like Michael says, Bielsa is the right way. Wayne Ridley says, time for the winning streak. How good would it be, mate, if we were to go on a winning streak for a few games? Obviously, especially with them across the Pennines on Sunday. Do you think we win this game on tomorrow night, mate? And if so, what we going for score prediction wise?
I don't think it'll be the prettiest game. I think the way Newcastle play, but I do. The reason I think we'll win this game is I think the substitutions were different. I think it will bring Pablo on. I think it will try something different. I can see it being one of those games where maybe a little bit similar to West Ham. We score early, they might hit one back, or they might score early, we hit one back. You can see it going like 1-1 late on in the game. We make a sub and it changes. I can just see that kind of game, if you know what I mean, or maybe even a 1-0 kind of thing. But I think we win tomorrow. I don't think we'll cruise it, but I think we win tomorrow. But just to go on to very quickly on that Man United game, I'm not. In some ways, that game suits us better than Newcastle because Man United won't sit back against us. I just can't see how Solskjaer can do that. It's massive rivals. He needs the points. They're going to play. They're going to try and play against us. And you've got Maguire, Red. These players kind of their defensive foundations. Luke Shaw. It's not great. I still think we can cause trouble against Man United. Maybe not win the game, but I think we'll cause trouble against them. But I think. The only other thing I'd say is about Bielsa is it's a mad time to be even talking about like criticising Bielsa. What's he supposed to do? His main centre back's out injured. His second main centre back, Llorente, who's come in, to build competition to.
He's an £18 million
is out. Well, that's the thing, mate. That's two players out, two centre backs out, and we're struggling defensively as well. He's had to move his right back to centre back. Of course, it's going to look a little bit, lackluster in that lot. But the only thing I would disagree with is I think he's persisted with one or two players a little bit too much for my liking. But I think that's probably going to change. Obviously, Alioski, I think.
Just on that as well, mate. This is a great comment, and I could say that maybe I'm thinking he's persisting with Jack Harrison a little bit too much lately. But JJ makes a good point. Whether or not the stats true, I'm assuming it is. But he said maybe the games against Chelsea and West Ham he didn't stand out, but he's created 23 chances this season. Only Bruno, De Bruyne, Grealish and Son have more. So Jack Harrison has had an impact, of course, since the season started. But he has waned a little bit. And do you think there's any chance that he comes out of the side? I suppose if Costa has a decent performance, you could maybe see, yeah? But the fact that no one's come on and staked a claim, then Jack Harrison has to start.
Yeah, 100%. I think obviously Jack Harrison will always have an advantage over Costa for me because of his engine. Even if he doesn't play well, he's going to do the shift defensively and help his left back out as much as he can. That's an advantage you'll always hold over Costa in that sense for me. And that's for me why he's he's at least two places above Costa, Pervader in the pecking order for me. I think it will take a lot to get Jack Harrison dropped out of the team. But what I will say as well is that stat doesn't surprise me at all. You only have to remember the start of the season. Jack Harrison against Liverpool, Jack Harrison against Villa, Matty Cash and Trent Alexander-Arnold. He just sent them all over the place for 90 minutes. He was fantastic against them. But I think the big thing with Jack Harrison is at the minute, when we attack on that left-hand side, you got Harrison trying to make a run down that side. But there's no one with, Alioski for me, I don't want to hammer a player, and I don't want to do that at all, but Alioski's not a natural left-back for me. And he doesn't make those kind of same movements Dallas does. Dallas always makes a bit of space, takes a full-back away, and that's the thing. Harrison gets the ball and he's kind of double marked. He's got the opposition winger on him, the fullback on him, and he's got no space to kind of attack him. And that's for me a little bit of the problem with the left back situation for me in terms of going forward. And that's possibly why I'd very, very much fond of the idea of Leith Davis getting a couple of games. Because Leith Davis, I think obviously I'm seeing him a couple of times in the 23s for us. I think he's definitely got a cross on him. Certainly more reliable than Gianni's crossing, to be honest. He might not have the same engine, to be fair, as Gianni, but that's the thing. I think.
What's your lineup then, Oscar? What's your lineup tomorrow?
I mean, assuming we go with the back three, personally, I'd go obviously Meslier in goal. I saw someone on Facebook saying Mellier's not good enough now. That's where we're at the minute. With in terms of
anyone that says that's crazy, they're watching a different game to me because I think he's probably the player of the season because Click's gone off the boil a little bit.
Most consistent. That's something I think you definitely say.
Mellier's been amazing.
He's probably had one game, probably that Palace game, and even then, I'm not sure you can blame him entirely for that. where he's not been quite at it. I think in that Leicester game, we got beat 4-1. He made some world-class saves in that. He's made a world-class save every single game of the season, to be fair to him.
West Ham and Chelsea could have been embarrassing if it worked for Marriott.
Easily. I mean, that Chelsea game could have been 6, if I'm being honest. Timo Werner's missed chances, but Mellier's dominated every single one-on-one. But so obviously Marriott in goal. Back 3, I'll probably go Ayling to the right side of the 3, Coops to the left, and I'm going to go KP. The reason I'm going to go KP is, as I've said before, I just want us to solve that problem of teams using their number 10 just to try and mark and sit on KP.
If KP was to start though, so then go on, continue through your lineup.
And obviously, that's the thing. It's so difficult because I'm just thinking around it. And obviously,
are you then putting Click in the pivot, or?
Yeah, I'm dropping Click a bit deeper. I think obviously Click defensively doesn't have the same awareness as Calvin, but I don't think that matters as much when you've got 3 players behind him. I think he can afford to have a little bit more of a attack-minded, holder in that sense. I don't think it's as much of a problem. And then obviously the wing backs. For me, it's a toss of a coin, really. But for me, I'd definitely be looking at a 2 out of Dallas, Shaq's, Davis.
I think we should give
Dallas
Shaq. I think we should give Shaq a start and move Dallas over to the left.
Well, it's more natural, isn't it? I think that Dallas and Harrison have proven this season, mate, that side works. I know a lot of people have criticised Dallas at left back, but you're not telling me that side of the pitch didn't look better before we had to move Dallas over to right back. It looked a mile better when you had Dallas and Harrison. It worked. They gelled well. Dallas made overlapping runs, put some good crosses into the box. I'd probably go with that, to be fair. In the 10 role, it's a difficult one, but I'd still go Rodrigo. I'd still go Rodrigo. You look at it; it's a game of fine margins against West Ham. On another day, he quite easily has 2 goals in that game. So on another day, that cross comes into the box. I think it's a poor miss. Don't get me wrong; it's a poor miss for a Spanish number 9. Poor miss, but fantastic movement to get into that position. He's made a hopeless cross out of nothing, really. It wasn't a particularly great cross into the box. He made that late run, gets on the end of it, and we almost score from it. So I still definitely have Rodrigo in there. I still think there's definitely goals to his game. And I keep the same kind of, everything else I keep the same. Rafinha off the right, Harrison off the left, and Bamford up top. I just think, if we get more out the wing backs, I think it gives us more penetration. I think it gives us a bit more everything. I think it forces Newcastle back a bit. It allows us to dominate the game a little bit more. And I just think that's all we need to change. I don't see all this, I know Harrison's getting stick, Click's getting stick, but I don't think making 3 or 4 changes is the answer.
And I don't think Bielsa will he? No, I think we might see Pascal come in. KP will remain in the pivot, and I think maybe Shackleton come in at right back. But I wouldn't be surprised to see just Pascal and Alioski to keep his place at left wing back, and Dallas at right wing back. If I'm being totally honest, or not Shackleton is enough.
If say the choice in terms of the other centre back was between Pascal and Liam Cooper, I know obviously Cooper's got a lot of stick at the minute, but would you make, if it was just a choice between the 2, who would you go with on that left side at the minute?
Cooper.
You still go. I mean, I'd agree. I think Coops he's got a lot of hammer, Coops. Yeah, the last couple. But let's not forget that what he did for the build-up for that opening goal against West Ham was absolutely brilliant. In terms of I thought, to be fair, the first half.
It was Richard Keogh-esque in that semi-final against
It was that run, that famous run. I mean, I'll never
Marriot.
Still never forgive Paddy Bamford for that, for letting him run or without just tripping him up or rugby tackling him or something. Never mind. To be fair, he's got us up and scored 8 goals since then. So
just on Cooper, I can hear myself, Oscar. I don't know if there's a thing. Just on Cooper, like this season, is that better? That's better. Oscar's sorted out his.
So what? I literally twisted the mic. That was it.
Just on Cooper, right? Look, Cooper's the captain at the end of the day, so he's not coming out of the side, is he? But like Darren was saying yesterday, we season on season, the team will change. The team will start to change, and better quality players will come in. And Cooper is one of them players that maybe in a season or two won't be in the side, you know. But I think at this moment in time, Cooper's our captain, Cooper's our centre-back, Cooper's been with us for such a long time. Of course, Cooper's going to play. But I think as the team progresses and we see more, you know, signings like Cox, you know, like the Rodrigos, like the Rafinhas, people like Cooper, people like Ayling, maybe even Dallas will still be there, but more as of a utility substitution. You know, these sort of players will start to drop out of the side. But we have enough right now within the team and the squad and the coach that we have to stay in the division, and then we'll build from there. You know, people expecting a lot of business to be done in January need to realise, you know, and I'm not saying this from an arrogant standpoint, it won't happen. I would be very surprised if we just threw money at it. We haven't ever.
I think even the Rodrigo de Paul, I can't even see. I know obviously that's the one that's getting spoken about. Nicky Puig. I can't even see that, to be fair, mate. I think they're big, difficult signings to get over the line in the January window, to be honest. I think Rodrigo de Paul, I do feel we might have missed the boat on that. But, I mean, the only thing I'd say, mate, is obviously when we lose games, everything gets brought up. Absolutely everything gets brought up. I know the Llorente, the price tag, fair enough. You know, I think there is some questions you could say about that. We have paid a lot of money for someone who's got a bit of an injury record. But to be fair, when he's on the pitch, I think he's fine. But, you know, I look at it, you know, Victor Orta's getting a bit of hammer as well. He's saying, oh, we're still championship players in this team, etc., etc. But Robin Koch, Rafinha, Rodrigo, that's the three main signings we made in the summer. You're not telling me, mate, that those three players haven't made our team look better.
What's that? Sorry, mate. I was miles away there reading that comment.
Okay. Victor Orta is getting absolutely hammered at the minute.
Yeah.
He's getting absolutely hammered.
I'm so sorry.
I was thinking, is he listening here? Is he listening to me here?
It's been a long
I could have been saying anything then. I could have been saying anything. But yeah, obviously Orta's getting a bit of stick. They're saying, you know, the centre-back situation, this and that, everything is his fault. COVID's his fault. Everything's his fault at the minute. That's just the way it is. You know what I mean? I don't know why Victor Orta's always one of his first targets, but I look at it. Rodrigo, Rafinha, Robin Koch. Three main signings.
Great window.
You're not telling me those three players have not made our team look infinitely better.
Of course. Take them out of that side. Then
there you go.
That's the thing.
Nothing we're playing about Orta.
Playing Costa week in, week out. We've got a centre-back partnership of Strauch and Cooper, or Ayling and Cooper. And we don't have Rodrigo. I mean, look, Rodrigo wasn't great against West Ham, but we were all clamouring for him to start the game. Be interesting to see if he does drop out. It's a really interesting one for me that here's our record signing, and if we do go with that 3-3-1-3, if he does get the boot, as it were, maybe if indeed there are going to be changes, maybe he comes on for Bamford a little bit later on as opposed to Roberts. But no criticism of Orta in my opinion. And if people are, then I've not seen it, but if they are, then again, just like the same that would give Bielsa stick, need to take a long hard look at themselves.
That's the thing. I mean, obviously Rodrigo, he hasn't really fought his way into the team yet, you know, in terms of permanent fixture. But I look at the game, you know, the only reason I said move back, Click back is that I don't really see Click as a natural number 10, you know, in terms of playing at the tip of that kind of like the one and the one front of the three kind of thing, you know, as a number 10. I don't see the best position as being that, you know, team Click kind of play there. We had Dallas centre mid. It's not playing to his skill set for me. He needs to be kind of playing a little bit deeper, coming onto the ball, trying to pull the strings from deep. I just think that suits his game a lot better. So for me, I would like to see whatever way we have to rotate things around, is Rodrigo or Hernandez playing at the tip of the midfield three kind of thing, or the tip of the diamonds. You know, that's got to be a priority for me. You know, certainly not Roberts there. Roberts doesn't work in that position. I think it's only really Rodrigo and Hernandez who I want playing there at the minute. I think it's the only players that suit that position, unless we sign a Rodrigo De Paul, a Puig, etc. All these players we've kind of been linked with. That's what we've got to go with.
What about these lads that Lee Lords mentioned? Obviously, Sam Greenwood and Joe Geldhart. Now, I was actually listening to LS11 earlier on, and Ben Parker was actually talking about Sam Greenwood. And apparently, in quite a lot of the under-23s game, he's been playing as an 8, and he's been deployed there quite a lot. So that's really interesting for me, because obviously throughout his career at Sunderland, and then he went to Arsenal, he's been playing as a number 9, but I believe he's been playing as an 8. So do you think that's something that Bielsa's asked and something that he's looking at? Could we see either Greenwood or Gelder? I think we will see them at Crawley. I think that's for certain. But do you reckon we could see either of them tomorrow night?
Yeah, and another name I'd add to the list is Jack Jenkins. I think he's certainly someone that, to be honest, in terms of centre midfielders, I think he looks a better fit than Shackleton or Dallas, who have tried there this season so far. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes in, but I certainly think those players, again, it's hard to talk about this without bashing who's come on the last couple of games, the form of certain individuals. They can't do any worse at the minute, can they? They can't do any worse. But that's the thing, you kind of put, if you did promote Greenwood, Joffrey Gelhart into the team, you'd probably lose Costa and Roberts then. You probably lose Costa and Roberts in terms of confidence. It kind of goes, doesn't it? And that's one thing you've got to avoid. As much as we're emotional, I was very emotional on Friday in terms of the free kick he gave away. You don't want to lose it. You don't want to cut your nose off to spite your face. You don't want to do that. As much as they were frustrating their performances, you don't want to lose them. They're good players. These Costa start of the season. That Fulham game, Liverpool game, elements of the Sheffield United game. You don't become a bad player overnight. I don't think that. I don't think he's ever really hit those Wolves levels for us, but I certainly don't think he's. I think obviously a couple of mentions that he's going back to the Championship team. I don't see that. I don't see that at all. But I think he has certainly got to step it up. I think both him and Roberts have got to step it up. But it's no bad thing if you have Gelhart, Greenwood, Jenkins performing well under 23s. It's no bad thing, mate, because it just puts a bit of pressure on. And sometimes pressure is good pressure, but I do think you run the risk if you do drop one of those out entirely for a couple of weeks. You might lose them confidence-wise completely, and that's the thing. I know it's a little bit toxic at the minute in terms of towards both players from all kind of angles and that lot. Because they're not playing well. It's as simple as that. But at the end of the day, they've shown they can do a job. But whether they need a loan move, we've just got to be careful about that. We've just got to be careful about because the fringe players in a Bielsa team, it's hard to get in a Bielsa team. The starting 11 is pretty much set in stone. When everyone's available, the starting 11's the same. It's just hard keeping these players at it. They're in the Premier League, they want to play, they're frustrated. We've just got to keep them there, haven't we, really? But the only thing I would say is, mate, is obviously without Struijk in there, which obviously you were saying about playing Struijk, whatever we're going to call him. I like the idea of Struijk in terms of aerially, against Joe Linton. Because the only thing I thought against Haller is that Cooper and Aylan, as much as Haller was poor, they weren't really winning that battle, were they? In terms of the strength battle, the 50-50s in terms of anything in the air, back to goal. They weren't really winning them for me, and it's just natural. So without Robin Koch there, probably our most aggressive centre back in that sense. It is something to look at, I think, possibly, to be honest, mate.
I hope tomorrow the game isn't settled on a set piece, because it would be absolute meltdown. It'd be absolute meltdown if this game was settled on a set piece.
Yeah,
that's not what we.
If we lost the game 4-1 and didn't concede the set piece, I think there'd be less meltdown over that than losing the game 1-0 on a set piece. I think that's just the way. Because when mud sticks, doesn't it? As soon as you kind of get a reputation and it kind of happens again, it developed into something bigger and bigger. And I think you were saying on Monday as well yesterday. It's almost psychological now, isn't it? You almost looked at that second goal. It just sort of felt so inevitable. Yeah, when O'Connor rises above Cooper, and it's just so almost slow motion, that goal, isn't it? And
yeah.
It's just something. Just got to sort it out. Just got to just find a way of just sorting it out. It's the end of the day. If your biggest problem is set pieces and not stuff that's happening in open play, you're not a bad team. You're not a bad team. It's something you can sort out on the training pitch. Whether you put Bamford on someone, whether you go to zonal marking, I'd rather have a problem on set pieces than have massive problems in open play.
Than have Sheffield United's problem not being able to score. Yeah.
I'd much rather set pieces. Yeah, they're a pretty big part of the game, but it's better to be a good team and struggle on set pieces than it is to be a bad team and great on set pieces. I think ultimately, that's it, isn't it? Really, it's and obviously the other thing is not giving stupid ones away. That's one thing I really don't want to see tomorrow is stupid fouls around the box. Diving in. I know Darren was saying yesterday that sometimes it's from our press. We're so keen to win that ball back. We're a little bit overzealous, and that's natural. But when we're around the box, just calm heads. Stay on your feet, because there's more chance of them scoring if you dive in than there is if you stay on your feet. That's the way I'm kind of looking at it at the minute. That's where, for me, I want to see Coops, Ayling, the big leaders, just really talking to everyone. I'm not saying they don't do that, but I'm saying have that communication and just don't give them anything on the plate. The West Ham game, it's a stupid corner we give away. The free kick's avoidable. Yeah. As well as West Ham played, we still threw that game away. Really, if we'd have avoided those two things, we'd have scrapped the 1-0 win. That's how crazy it is, really. And that's why I'm saying we're not far away. We're still not far away. It's still just the little margins have gone against us. People go on about the Palace game, the Leicester game. They weren't 4-1 games. They weren't 4-1 games at all.
No, you're right.
And it's not good. We're not going to continue to have that bad luck. I just think when we win one game, I think we go back to level before.
So tomorrow is that game. Tomorrow is that game. We win the game 2-0. We win the game 2-0 for me. Patrick Bamford brace. That's what I'm hoping for.
How great would it be to keep a clean sheet as well?
Yeah, just keep a clean sheet.
1-0, 2-0.
Let's have some set pieces, but defend them.
Score from a set piece as well.
Yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
1-0 set piece, and I'd be over the moon with that. Honestly, over the moon. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And the worst nightmare I've got this week is us losing Harry Maguire on Sunday on a set piece. And we've got to sort it out for that reason alone. That's what we've got to be kind of thinking of there now. Thinking, just imagine the horror if that happens. And we've just got to find a solution, mate. And I think we will. Bielsa's not, naive. He will. The last 24 hours, 48 hours, I reckon, they've probably been just working on set piece after set piece, taking them, defending them. And that's the only one thing I would say about taking the set pieces is I want to know who our main set piece taker is now, because obviously 1 week has been Click, 1 week has been Rafinha. Surely someone can take a set piece in this team. They've got so much talent in their team. Just someone would just get that natural set piece taker. Even if it's Stuart Dallas or Liam Cooper, just someone who can take a set piece. Mellier, just whoever can take a set piece, just sort of, and just a decent delivery into the box. And because mate, the weirdest thing is we conceded as many goals from open play as we have on set pieces compared to the rest of the league. It's insane. No other teams come close to doing that. And that shows how good we are in open play in every sense. We're poor on the set pieces in terms of scoring set pieces as well. It's the same kind of thing. We're a top 10 team. If you took set pieces out of football, we're a top 10 Premier League team. There's no question about it. And I'm just hoping I'm hoping, to be fair, that Wenger in charge of FIFA just gets set pieces banned, to be honest, because we're laughing then, aren't we, mate?
We are, mate. We are. But it's been a good preview, as always, as per. Joe's very, very tired tonight. I switched off a few times. But I'm looking forward to tomorrow. 6 o'clock kickoff. I don't think we've had one of them yet, have we?
No, I don't think we have. Yeah. It's all these weird kickoff times, mate.
Yeah. 6 o'clock, so I think it'll just be myself with the lineups at 5 because Oscar's working.
I'm rushing back from work. But I will be back. I'll be back on it at 5:45 when we go on to the watch along, and then we'll be doing all the match.
We'll get you player ratings and that. We'll get you player ratings the same night, and that with it being a pretty early kickoff, I'm sure we'll be able to.
Yeah, it will. It's the 8 o'clock was a pain, wasn't it? You know, we had the Everton game, the Chelsea game. It was a pain getting everything out, but I think it works better for us, doesn't it? We're getting stuff out. Obviously, we do the post-match review, player ratings a couple of hours after the game, and then Bob's your uncle, and hopefully we'll be when we win the game as well. And obviously,
your uncle and Fanny's your aunt, as they say, isn't it?
We win the game tomorrow, just to finish off. We win the game tomorrow, we can go as high as 12 all of a sudden, and we can actually be within 6 points of the top 4 if we win the game tomorrow.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. We'll be fine, man. We'll be back tomorrow with a win. I promise you. I say that, I promise you. I can't really promise you it, can I? Really? But we need to get a win because I can't deal with another loss. And let's get a win on the board. 1 win in 6. Let's make it 2 in 7 and look ahead to that team across the Pennines on Sunday. 2 from 2. Fingers crossed. Anything you want to leave with, Oscar?
I don't know. I was thinking, is there anything I want to leave? I don't always want to say nothing, but I've kind of just said nothing. So I guess we'll leave it there, mate, and just do the awkward.
We'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, we'll do the awkward thing
wave now. Awkward, like, kind of